Welcome to the Happiness Telesummit. This is Erica Glessing, and I'm your host. And I have the most delightful, beautiful, unstuck queen of teaching with me today, Remy Chausse. Welcome, Remy.
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, I am so glad Remy could join us on Happiness Telesummit this year. Remy is the America's #1 unstuckologist. She has X-ray vision for seeing the trouble spots, and she has creativity to transform things that are stuck in your life. And it's like I'm getting stuck trying to read about being stuck. She wrote a book called The Get Unstuck Revolution, and she wrote Living Life as an exclamation point.
There it is.
She has been featured on Business Beware Show on Fox and all kinds of wonderful NBC Fox. And she has her own weekly podcast, which is at www.thegetunstuckrevolution.com. And I have given Remy permission. I want to share with you. I have given Remy permission to mess with me. So I said, Remy, you can mess with me, right? I'm like, mess with my head. Because I was telling her in the beginning that so many things in my life have been unfolding with just unparalleled grace. And yet my energy and my happiness, I don't know, it just doesn't feel the same. It's funny as before when I actually was struggling a lot harder. And so I was just going to have that conversation with you about happiness and have you just kind of get into things and help us and teach us and let us know what we can do to have things just feel a little bit differently in our lives.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, people do call me the unstuckologist. I don't know where that came from or how it stuck, but it did. And I'm just going to take notes as we go because you just said something beautiful, that you have unparalleled grace. I'm going to make a note of that. If it's okay with you, I'm going to take notes as we go.
Okay.
Okay. And you can too. I'm going to be giving everybody some exercises, so feel free to jump in. I take notes as we go because they end up being blog posts and tweets and little moments of brilliance like unparalleled grace. So what I want to do, if it's okay with you, is talk about money and prosperity and abundance because this seems to be where a lot of people get stuck and they seem to wrap up their happiness in their prosperity. Right? So is it okay with you if we talk about money for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, money's been coming up, and it's really interesting because I've set the Happiness Telesummit each year, the energy at just happiness. Yeah. And this year, money flow, more than any other year, has been coming in ways where we're getting tools from our experts on flowing the money in our lives. And so, yeah, I mean, let's not call it taboo. Let's open that up.
Yeah, it's literally a matter of being in the energy of money or being in the energy of prosperity. Not I want prosperity because that leaves you wanting, as we know from the law of attraction, but being in it, being a part of it, claiming it as part of our identity. We are prosperous beings. And it's like I used to have this phrase called parlez-vous prosperity, meaning do you speak the language of money? Because you're right, it shouldn't be taboo. And so one of the most common questions I get is we hear this thing about it's not about the money. And I have people say, well, if it's not about the money, then what is it about? Right? Especially people who are having money struggles. It's like, it's right here, all my problems. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So we know that money doesn't bring us happiness, but if we don't have it, then we're often not happy. Right?
Well, and you know, I think it's not even just, I mean, it is money. It's also that spirit of abundance and free choice and knowing that I could get up and drive to the beach and knowing that I live in a beautiful place and I could go and do fun things with my children. It's not really, I mean, it is, yes, cash flow, but I want to get bigger with that whole concept of that and say, and really reach into the sort of the free choice, the opening things up, the feeling of I can make choices that are unstuck, as you described, rather than feeling like I'm stuck or in a place where I can't move.
Yeah, I was working with a client recently who, and like they all say, I'm feeling stuck. I hear it so often. I had another life coach tell me the other day, if I hear that phrase one more time, I think I'm going to scream. But I'm feeling stuck is a very common thing that we hear. And she was like, I'm not making the money in my business that I know I should be making. The revenues aren't flowing. I should be making more money by now. I've been in business for 3 years. And when we really looked at it from a perspective of prosperity and not money, what we found was that she had, we have visitors. We have little munchkins.
It's a break week here.
It's a break week here. That's right. We'll just include them as part of the show. Anyway, what we found with her was that all of her bills were paid. Her credit scores were over 700. She had a real estate investment portfolio that was full, tenants in all of her properties, and with her divorce settlement, she was sitting on several $100,000. And so even though it looked like she wasn't making revenue or making money, she was actually in the energy of prosperity and couldn't even see it. Right?
And do you find that's common, or do you find that that's kind of the exception, or
it's a little bit of both. I mean,
that we get skewed on what it is. Yeah.
It's all about perspective, which we're going to talk about today. And so I brought everybody 5 tips. We're probably only going to get to 3 of them. But I brought everybody some tips that we can use for today. Let me make myself a quick note here. And so these tips I'm giving you today are from a little program I do that you can find at getunstuckecourse.com. Just so you know where they're coming from. This program is a way to turn your life around and find your way back to you again in under 30 days. Because when we're talking about prosperity, we're really talking about the energy of you. This is your natural inheritance, right? So let me give you the first tip, which is it's not about the money. It's about you. It's not about the money, it's about you and the essence of who you are.
And right, Remy, I must say, I think when we can do that, where we put the money, sorry, my camera's being funky. I think when we can not have it be inside of us so much, right, but we can have it be as part of the whole or as part of a bigger flow of energy and not necessarily just be about us, that feels pretty interesting.
Yeah, because we get into a separateness, like it's something outside of us, which is what our ego wants us to think, right? But it really is a part of us. So it is the essence of who you are. I was working with a client, her name was Judy, and she was in real estate. This has been a number of years ago when we had all the market problems. And she said to me, if I could just get some money on the table, everything would be fine. And I told her, Judy, it's not money that needs to come to the table, it's you that needs to come to the table. Right? You need to come to the table, your essence, your vision, listening to your inner wisdom, and increasing your own awareness of possibilities, becoming more of who you are, being more authentic, speaking the truth with a capital T about who you are and the life that you're meant to be and what you want. It's a way of expressing your own unique talent. So no, it's not about the money. It's about stepping into your own skin and your own essence, right? So your ego may scream at you that it's all about the money, and when you're in a financial struggle, it seems like the ego screams louder and louder, and that really is the time to center more and more into who you are, how you're evolving, where you want your life to go, and just start telling the truth with a capital T, right?
Okay.
So often people say, well, how do I do that? That how question, that's one of the common questions I get, the how. So I want to give you 3 steps, 3 things that you can do that will make an immediate change in your life. Cool?
Okay, great.
All right, so let's write down number 1, and that has to do with negative thoughts, as in let it go. Let it go. The negative thoughts, right? So what we want to do is to find more things to be happy about. We're just looking to shift that balance, so we're not thinking about the negativity, but we're thinking more about things that make us happy. So find more things to be happy about, and the universe will follow your lead. Right? Find things to be happy about. Now, when you're in a financial struggle, that may seem kind of weird, so start with, I'm breathing. You can be pretty happy about that, right?
Yeah, especially considering the alternative.
Right? Yeah. The sun is shining. I got my makeup on today. All my limbs are intact, or whatever it is that you have to be happy about, even if your limbs aren't intact. Did you see that amazing dancer on Dancing with the Stars last season who was a double amputee? And she made it to the finals. It was kind of amazing. So even if your limbs are not intact, there are things that you can be happy about.
Right. And really, I think when we start in that place of shifting our own energy and shifting what we focus on, it really brings up to me not only happiness, but it's like it brings up also choice, which keeps coming up for me. It's like you have much more choice of where you go with your energy when you're feeling better. And so, yeah, it's about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you find that there are two sides to every coin. There's a positive and a negative, a good and a bad. We live in a polarity in our universe, and so for every one thing that's negative, there's something else that's happy, right? Even when you draw the angel cards, I've been seeing a lot of 5 everywhere I go, which, yes, it has a negative. Watch out, chaos is on its way, but there's also a positive side. So where are you going to put your focus, right? So find something to be happy about. Be happy about even having angel cards to help you out. And then the second thing you can do, which you and I have talked about before, is focus on the positive. And one way that you can do that is to find 10 new perspectives. It's all about how we're viewing the world. If we view the world from a negative perspective, of course, there's going to be more evidence to show up. So with my client Judy, who was having a hard time in the real estate market back in 2008 and 9, we looked at what kind of pivot could she do? Could she pivot to a new market, a new type of clientele? Could she begin to specialize in short sales instead of the way she'd always done business? Could she pivot into leases instead of sales? How many pivots can you make? See, the thing about pivoting is you don't try to make one big pivot and hope you don't run out of money. It's how many pivots can you make before you run out of money? Because if you can change your perspective often until you find your groove, that's a beautiful thing.
And for me, one thing I noticed was when I shifted, I had to shift a couple of things. Like I shifted one thing, then I shifted another thing, and it really took me saying yes to, because I publish books, and so it took me saying yes to one book every month. And I was publishing like 2 books a year. And once I opened up and started publishing more authors and more books and really opened up to that, everything changed. Everything changed. It was like overnight. But I had been shifting and shifting and things hadn't changed. And I went, okay, what else, could I bring in here? And I just opened up the doors and opened up the capacity. I had to change a lot. But it was interesting when you talk about that, because it did take, not just a number of years or a number of time, but it was really asking the question of what would work rather than being just fully into what doesn't work,
Mm-hmm. I ran into a little tip that I'll give you that has worked well for me. Sometimes when we feel stuck, if we don't know where to shift, the doubts begin to arise. We doubt who we are, what we're doing, what our next move is. And so one thing I'll do in journaling is I'll write down, I have no doubt that, and this is where you can start pulling out some strengths. I have no doubt I'm going to get through this. I have no doubt that the right solution is going to emerge. I have no doubt that I'll make the right connection. Or another way to journal on the other end of that, the opposite side of the coin, is the truth is I'm a beautiful and productive person. The truth is I have endless resources in front of me. The truth is I have wonderful mastermind partners that can help me with this. So those are 2 different ways that you can begin to open up and tap into your higher self.
Thank you, Remy. So,
right, for a new perspective.
My turn.
My turn.
No, our cameras froze for a second. So we were talking at the beginning about how easy it is to do audio, and how when we add the video, it like exponentially changes the dynamics of the conversation. So I love these tips so far. I'm really kind of sucking it up. So thank you. So we're going to shift into the positive, and then just also be open to shifting. And you call it pivoting, so that things can, it's interesting because it kind of reminds me of one of my experts teaches feng shui, where they move 27 things in the room to experience change.
Yeah. I've had my home feng shuied. It's actually pretty interesting. I remember when I had it done, this was with my ex-husband, and in the master bedroom, I'm artistic, so I had painted this thing on the wall, this abstract thing, and it was like a giant circle that was split in the middle that had like a scene on each side. And she said, why are you splitting the energy in your bedroom? And you're wondering why you're going through a divorce. And I was like, holy cow, I didn't even see that I had done that, right? So I painted it in that weekend. It's like, okay, pivot. Not a good energy for a bedroom. So anyway, so Judy, and part of her perspective was she started volunteering, which was something that she had wanted to do and couldn't when the real estate market was so busy in earlier years. And she got a new dog. And she said, believe it or not, that dog changed the energy in my home, and my husband and I started getting along even better. So these little shifts, the change in perspective, the little pivots, they can be brilliant sometimes in the underlying energy and sometimes not directly related to your money. They definitely impact your happiness. And so the third thing that you can do to create an immediate change would be to put your focus to 15 minutes after your success. That's using your imagination. Envision where you are 15 minutes after your success. Does that make sense?
You know, I love that. I have to tell you, one of the things that I do when I'm public speaking is I picture myself walking out of the room and having everyone congratulate or thank me. Yes. And I shift immediately into that. And I've been doing that for years, but I never thought of it as something like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, if I were to ask you to point to where your past is, which direction would you point? Where is your past if you were to point? My past is to the left, to my left, but where is your past? Behind you?
It's behind me, yeah.
And if I were to ask you to point to the direction of your future, where would you point?
It's like straight.
In front of you? Okay. So my past is to the left and my future is in front of me. That's how I, different people see it different ways. Okay. There's no right or wrong. So what I do when I'm in the middle of a struggle is I consider it's to my left, like it's out my car window. And I look ahead, I look forward to what I want to see. That would be another way to change your focus. So let's say, for instance, that you have a struggle like a major plumbing leak in your house, a slab leak, let's say, because that can be pretty expensive. You can sit in your chair and focus on the struggle, focus on the problem, focus on the idea that your house is flooding and what's going to happen. It's just going to keep flooding right in front of you. Or you can sit and put your focus on finding a plumber. You see, you focus on the struggle, you get more struggle, but you put your focus on the solution, on the future, then your subconscious and the universe begins to work towards that solution. So you can sit and think about, I'm going to find the perfect plumber who's going to be completely experienced, who's going to handle this quickly, and hand me a bill that's much lower than I would have expected. You focus on that rather than focus on the struggle.
I love it.
Right? These are all from getunstuckecourse.com, by the way, if anybody wants to know where these tips are coming from. So that's the first tip I've brought you, is that it's not about the money, it's about you and your essence, recapturing your vision, looking at who you are, getting back into your inner genius, your inner wisdom, and in that space is where you find your true happiness, because you will never find happiness in the struggle. Do I need to say that again? You will never find happiness in the struggle.
Well, I'd like you just to talk about that a little bit, because, one of the things when I listen to teachers that really inspire me, it seems like they teach that concept really well, where one of my friends was teaching about how comfortable it is to never quite be able to pay all the bills. Like, she really gets that. That's how she was raised, and that to shift out of that into something brand new feels very uncomfortable, and to have that ease and flow feels kind of different to her. And so she's like, but the other thing, like the struggle, she gets that. So maybe do talk a little bit more about the happiness, happens outside of the struggle.
Yeah, you won't find happiness in the struggle ever. And so you're being psychic, Erica, because that leads me to my tip number 2, which is learning how to manage your energy. And I don't know if you ever heard Oprah talk about this when she still had her daily talk show, but she had a sign made for outside of her office door that said, manage your energy before you come into my office, something like that. Manage your own energy. And it's really pretty brilliant, because when we're talking about prosperity or struggle, for instance, if you don't have money, there really is only one reason, and that's because you're focusing on the struggle. You're focusing on the lack. You're not focusing on your vision, and so therefore what you have in front of you is the lack. So in managing your energy, you focus on the happiness. You focus on where you want to go. You focus on your vision. You manage your energy. Because your energy, the idea that your energy vibrates, then you're going to be vibrating with things staying the same if you're in lack, if you're in struggle. That's where your vibration is. It's in staying the same. Does that make sense? So you want to change your...
I love it. I do teach this constantly.
Right?
And my books are all about the energy, because one thing that we can do is we can shift our energy, and it doesn't take money. Money's good. It doesn't take energy to shift. It doesn't take money to change your energy.
Right.
It actually is something you can do by movement. You can do it by eating differently. I taught one of my clients to eat little bit meals throughout the day instead of like nothing and waiting till he was starving when he got home.
Right? Yeah, it's very true. You don't need the money first to be prosperous. You change the energy first, and then the money follows. If you think the money has come in first, I promise if you go back and look, your energy, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings about it changed first, and then the money showed up. Yeah. So this is just huge to realize that if you're sitting in a struggle, it's because you're vibrating with things staying the same. Okay, so let's move on to the third tip. That was an easy tip. So the third tip is to know that,
you say it's easy.
it's an easy concept. Yeah.
And at the same time, Remy, that feeling of if you'd like to change, you want to resonate and vibrate differently, you know, you have a really beautiful vibration. So I think it's something that you have that I always think of when I think of you. I get that feeling of you. Like, maybe just explain that, even though it's like an easy thing, maybe go a little bit more, another minute, and then we can go to the third one.
You're actually being psychic again. I don't know what's up. I mean, people are going to think you've got a copy of my, inside my brain, but it's not true. You're actually being psychic. We are going to talk about exactly that next.
Okay, cool. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Let's rock and roll. Yeah, I know. So the energy and the feeling. So when we're talking about prosperity, abundance, wealth, money, all those things, wealth is not created by focusing on the money. It's created by focusing on the feeling. Now, I know that we heard about this in The Secret, and I secretly used to hate it because I'm not a feeling person. I'm a visual. And for me to sit and think about my feelings doesn't come naturally to me, nor does it make any sense at all to me, really, when you think about it. So I brought you an exercise from getunstuckecourse.com, and here it is. What you want to do is to grab a thesaurus, either a real one or your thesaurus online, if that makes it easier, and let's just start with the word happy, since that's what we're talking about, the Happiness Summit.
I love that word, by the way. Good choice.
So we come up with different words that mean happy, like content, joy, vibrant, ecstatic, blessed, whatever it means to you. Just write up 10 words that mean happiness. We'll start there. Now, for some of you who want to feel accomplished, we'll look up accomplished and go down that road. If you just want to feel joy, start with that word and then look up 10 more words. But you get the idea. You start with one word and then open up your thesaurus. Nice. And the thing is that you don't want to sit and say, I want to feel joy, I want to feel happy, I want to feel ecstatic, that's what I want as a result of my next speaking gig. You immediately begin to feel it now. So you simply say, I feel happy, I feel content, I feel the joy, I feel vibrant, I feel alive, I feel sparkly, I feel bubbly. And the more you sit and do that, and those feelings become very real, the universe begins to respond and bring you more things that feel like that. Right? And that's how you manage your energy. Okay. Oh, so I'll keep talking. Okay. So let's move on to tip number 4 then, and that is to ask the right questions. You don't ask, you don't ask, why don't I have money? That would be the wrong question. You want to ask the right question. Things like, how can I grow and evolve, which is something that Erica mentioned a while ago. What does my heart want? Would be an excellent question. What have I learned, and how can I create a new path based on what I've learned? What are the new opportunities? So always ask the right question, not the question of, what am I doing wrong? Why is this so messed up? Why can I not seem to get it? Why am I so stuck? That's a wrong question.
So, Remy, okay, so you have to also bear with me, because even though I'm also psychic, I'm also ADD.
That's a great combination.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, that sounds like a book. But anyways, my question to you is, just in the Remy world, because you kind of touched on speaking. A lot of the listeners to the summit are healers, teachers, speakers, and authors, and they haven't come out of that. Like, a lot of the people who are tuning in right now, a lot of the listeners would love to get paid to speak or would love to express themselves more. And maybe just share with me, you talked about like picturing it once you've succeeded. Can you just kind of respond to that question? Because I can hear it from people that would love to know a little bit about you, your secrets of doing this as successfully as you do.
I'm going to tell you one of the things I did. I'm looking through a little vision journal that I've got here in front of me. Oh, here's one. So what I do is I get a little spiral-bound notebook here, so you can see it, just a little spiral-bound notebook, and this becomes a vision journal. And what I did when I went through, you know my story, I went through a spiritual injury where I found that I was being abused by my minister in my church, and the minister was my husband. And so I went through this huge spiritual injury. It ended up being PTSD, I found out, oh gosh, 8 years later. So it was pretty traumatic. And this is what I did every single morning. And I found this the other day, and this was written about 6 years ago, is every morning I did a vision page. And I would sit at my table, cut out a picture, and this was like the younger me, it's a child, and I would paste things like, love the life you're in, love the life you're in. And so when you sit, and down here, wake up, gorgeous.
Nice!
Right? And get to know the inner you. And so I would keep this right here next to my computer, and this is something that I could reflect on. If I take a phone call that's upsetting, or I open an email that's upsetting, it would be right here next to me, so I could recenter. And so if you don't feel like you can sit and say, I feel happy, I feel alive, I feel vibrant, if you're just not there yet, right, you can do a vision page in a journal, a new vision every day. And what this does is it begins to create your life right in front of you.
I always look at it like Harold and the Purple Crayon, because I love that concept of I'm drawing things and then they're showing up, and then I'm asking for things and they're showing up. Oh, show that again.
This is the wow, and it says, let's see how good it can get. Let's see how good it can get. Beautiful. I found this journal just the other day. I hadn't seen it for a couple of years. I pulled it out the other day, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, and I left it open. And about 2 days later, I got an interview with Jack Canfield for my own podcast. And that's an interview I couldn't have dreamed of, no matter how much I sat and thought about it. It just wasn't in my space. But it was a wow moment. Let's see.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah. And I told him through inspiration on the call, I'd like to do a pitch for you. I think that I have an idea that we could work on together. He said, let me give you my personal email. So this literally can begin to create your life right in front of you.
Thank you, Remy. That's beautiful. And we will give people a link to your online e-course. They can go to that link from this page that they're on right now. And what else would you like to share with my beautiful audience? I feel so blessed you joined us today.
I would just say that if you envision a positive outcome, just envision it. And envision it as often as you can throughout the day, or sit with your eyes closed for even 10 minutes, morning and night. If you just begin to envision it, the universe will immediately begin to reform all of its little molecules and begin to work on that vision for you. Just takes a few minutes a day, really.
I love it.
For everybody, if they love the concepts that we've talked about today, and if you're in a place where you're feeling hopelessly, deeply, and painfully stuck, yes, we're going to put up this URL. You can check it out, getunstuckecourse.com. And this program shows you how to get unstuck in under 30 days. And I got to tell you, Eric, it's crazy, because I did a survey not too long ago, and it was something like 84% of the people said the reason they don't get help when they're feeling stuck is they feel like they should be able to do it on their own. So I created this Get Unstuck e-course just for that.
Oh, I love it. Well, I want to encourage everyone on the call today to go follow up with Remy, because anyone she's been on my summits before, and when people go and they work with her, I hear beautiful things. So if you're feeling like Remy's like a great resource for you and could be someone that would bring you to that next level, I want to encourage you to go and work with Remy, because like I said, my audience in the past has always just thanked me for sending them to you. How does it get better than that?
Yeah, and so my word of the day is going to be unparalleled grace. It was the first thing I wrote down on my page here. That's going to be my theme, my vision for the day.
I love it. Thank you, Remy.
Thank you.